It is Wednesday, Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with America's Talking Network. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Programming notes, I am taking some time off Thursday, Friday, all of next week, and the Monday and Tuesday of the following week. We'll be back live with Illinois in Focus Daily Wednesday, September 11th, I believe, if I check my calendar. Hey, we got tons to tackle today. So like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and get the updates. And we'll obviously be chugging right along to the November general election and a whole host of other issues to tackle, including next month. You've got the Southern District of Illinois set to do a bench trial in the challenge against Illinois' gun and magazine ban. Obviously, we've tracked that a lot. There's not been a ton of movement other than looking ahead to the scheduling of that September 16th bench trial. But as we get closer to that, we'll start unpacking some of the things we expect to hear when Judge Stephen McGlynn takes that case on final judgment. So those are some other big things ahead. Plus, you've got just a host of things happening ahead of the election that we'll be tracking here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Several things we'll do today. 3 different segments. One, we'll look at what some of the politicos have to say about undecided voters and the issues they believe undecided voters are attracted to. We'll also delve into lawsuits against the Illinois State Police alleging negligence in how they handled the firearm owner identification card of the suspected and alleged shooter of the Highland Park Independence Day parade. So I was able to actually get these lawsuits through a Freedom of Information Act request from the Illinois Court of Claims. So we'll go through some of that and even review previous statements by State Police Director Brendan Kelly way back 2 years ago about how they've changed the FOID card issue. But up next, we got to get response from the Illinois State Board of Elections to Carol Davis and her concerns that she raised with the Illinois Election Integrity Project. So that's next here with America's Talking Network and Illinois in Focus Daily. Again, I'm Greg Bishop. Join me each and every weekday morning. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Programming note, I am taking a week or so off, so just be mindful of that, all right? Again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network. From around 10% of Illinois registered voters being inactive to how the Secretary of State enables the voter registration process to go on without including non-citizens and more, got response from election and other officials to concerns raised by the Illinois Election Integrity Project. Welcome back. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Yesterday we talked with Carol Davis. She is with the Illinois Election Integrity Project, and she shared with us some of her chief concerns on a variety of fronts, from mail-in balloting to non-citizens possibly being able to register to vote and more. But one thing that she focused on was the number of inactive voters that they've been able to find across the state of Illinois, and the Illinois State Board of Elections confirming that there are 839,000 plus inactive registered voters of the nearly 8 million active registered voters. Here is Carol Davis talking briefly about the concerns of why they are finding it problematic. There's 1 in 10 voters in Illinois being, inactive.
People are parked on there that should not be on there. And of course, it opens the possibility that those names could be used by nefarious actors to cast vote-by-mail ballots.
So Davis worried about people seeing those inactive voters on rolls and saying, hey, we're going to nefariously use their vote to go whichever way the nefarious actors want. But Illinois State Board of Elections, they did reply to a list of concerns, and they said currently in Illinois there are 839,119 inactive registered voters, and that's of the 7.9 million active registered voters. They go on further to say that a voter becomes inactive when an election authority's statutorily required attempt to contact the voter is unsuccessful. This is typically done by mailing a non-forwardable voter card to the voter. If the Postal Service can't deliver it and it bounces back to the election authority, the voter is moved to inactive status. The election authority then sends a forwardable mailing in an attempt to contact the voter. They'll also use the Illinois State Board of Elections database to try to determine whether the voter is registered elsewhere and can be canceled. Illinois is also a member of ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information Center, which helps election authorities identify voters who may be registered in other states and can be canceled. State Board of Elections goes on to say that if this fails and the voter does not show up to vote in subsequent 2 federal elections, the inactive voter is canceled. If they do show up to vote, they need to show ID to confirm that they still reside in their registered address. So they say that having a significant number of inactive voters is indicative of the state's ongoing voter list maintenance efforts. They're basically voters who are awaiting cancellation, but federal law requires that we can give them 2 federal election cycles. That's 2 consecutive even-year elections in case they reappear at their current address. So, again, that's the State Board of Elections response to the 10% of registered voters being labeled inactive voters, something that Carol Davis and Judicial Watch, they were able to review and find that number themselves by looking at the state's voter rolls after getting a court to order them access to that recently. So the mail-in voting is another aspect, and in Illinois, you have mail-in voting to where you can request a mail-in ballot and they'll send it to you, or you can request a permanent mail-in ballot to where they send you automatically a mail-in ballot for every election. That's got some problems with it, according to election integrity officials who say mail-in voting increases the potential for fraud. Here's Carol Davis from our conversation yesterday.
So it is not secure, but again, if you claim your name, get it early, take it to the polling place as early as you can vote. That way, if they do say, well, hey, someone's already cast a vote-by-mail ballot in your name, then you've got 30, 40 days before Election Day to call the sheriff.
She also went on to, say that she's got concerns of the automatic voter registration process leading to non-citizens possibly getting registered to vote. The State Board of Elections, they said regarding automatic voter registration, they point to a filing from the Secretary of State that goes through a variety of things that they say are facts about House Bill 3882. So let me pull this document up because it's kind of fascinating to see this, but we'll read some of this together here. This is a document that the State Board of Elections shared with me concerning House Bill 3882. And this is from an attorney within the Secretary of State's office saying that they want to clarify some things about that legislation. The goal is to improve road safety and reduce instances of discrimination. In tandem with the pursuit of these goals, the Secretary of State's office also implemented new safeguards to ensure only eligible qualified U.S. citizens could submit voter registration applications. So what this legislation did, 3882, is it changed the temporary visitor driver's license. If you're not familiar with that, it essentially is a driver's license the state of Illinois gives to non-citizens considered temporary visitors. Now, before, it had on the top, above the picture, not a valid form of ID. So they removed that and said federal rules apply or something to that effect, all to deal with real ID standards. But they say that the prominent purple banner reading "not valid for ID" found on TVDLs often dissuaded undocumented individuals from opting to get one. This led to more unlicensed drivers on Illinois roads who never took a vision test, a written test, or a behind-the-wheel test, all of which are essential to ensuring a driver is fit and safe to operate a vehicle. It also meant fewer drivers needing to show proof of insurance, which is required to drive legally in Illinois. In terms of voter registration, the current procedures used by local election authorities to process voter registration applications completed at DMVs have not changed and do not change because of this new law. Again, this is a law that went into effect July 1st of this year. Various electronic protection measures are already in place that fully omit the voter registration process for all TVDL applicants due to the fact that they are non-citizens. And it goes through even more. Again, it says it's important to note the individuals applying to register to vote with their local county clerk election authority are not required to show proof of U.S. citizenship. And that's something that I think Carol Davis talked about, the need for federal legislation to pass. It already passed the House, but it needs to pass the Senate to require proof of citizenship for voters. But they say that at least when it comes to the Secretary of State's office, current programming within their systems automatically segregates non-citizens from citizens when it comes to that automatic voter registration process. And if you're following along here on the video, you can see some of those things they say. For instance, if there's no social security number, then they're flagged and they're not included in the automatic voter registration process, with a whole host of other things that prohibit people from using the automatic voter registration process in order to get registered to vote in the state of Illinois. But then you get into the questions of how long it takes to count votes in the state of Illinois. And that is, 2 weeks after Election Day. You got mail-in ballots that are still being allowed. But for federal elections, should those only be counted on Election Day? That's a lawsuit that Davis tried with Judicial Watch in Illinois that was ultimately beaten by the defendants in that case, and the courts dismissed it. But there's another case out of Mississippi that Davis says they're keeping their eyes on.
And joined together in Mississippi, and we'll be watching suits like that around the country very carefully, hoping that there'll be good outcomes there, that it will add strength when we come back to Illinois to try to hit that again.
So clearly she says that they're going to try to bring this up again in future litigation. But the concerns of ballot harvesting, and that is when you have somebody go out and grab ballots from individuals and turn those in for them. Of course, if you do this physically at an election authority, they have to check affidavits that the individual voter signed to hand it over to you, and then they verify signatures that way. But when it comes to the drop boxes, that's not the case. It's a loophole in the law that's even recognized by election authorities, to where there's no election authority there at the drop box checking that signature to make sure that you were verified and able to deliver a ballot. But the Illinois State Board of Elections, they say under Illinois law, any mail ballot being delivered to the election authority on behalf of a voter must contain the voter's signature on a statement authorizing the individual to deliver the ballot and the signature of the individual delivering the ballot. Ballot harvesting, as it's commonly referred to, means actively targeting voters who have unreturned mail-in ballots and coercing them to vote a certain way or to surrender an unmarked ballot so the collector can mark it without input from the voter. Someone willing to engage in this illegal act of coercive or deceptive election fraud also is likely to engage in coercive, deceptive practices where you've got, this idea of ballot harvesting. The crime of harvesting takes place not at the point of delivery, but in the homes of targeted voters, the Illinois State Board of Elections said in a statement yesterday when I asked about all of these different concerns. So clearly, these are things that we'll see how it plays out over time as we get closer and closer to the November 5th general election, where early voting begins September 26th. So less than a month away. Unbelievable how time flies. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Wake up each morning with us right here with America's Talking Network. Go to thecentersquare.com for all the headlines and to get the daily newsletter. Again, thecentersquare.com. Alleged state police negligence around the Highland Park Independence Day mass shooting could cost Illinois taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. After lawsuits have been filed at the Court of Claims, it is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg. 6 different cases. Some of them have individuals suing, others have several individuals suing. And again, this is at the Court of Claims. What the Court of Claims does, they handle all kinds of negligence allegations against government. And it's a court procedure, but a lot of times these documents are full of redactions. So again, I FOIA'd the Court of Claims for any documents they have pertaining to lawsuits against state police around the Highland Park mass shooting. It took them several weeks to get those documents back to me, but we have those. And I do want to just kind of go through some of what these documents had to say and show you as well kind of what we're looking at here. But the Court of Claims, right? So July 9th, you have a letter essentially saying acknowledging receipt of the claim captioned above, which has been filed with the clerk of the Court of Claims. The Attorney General will investigate the claim and represent the state in this matter. Please refer to the caption case number. So it looks like, $2 million there. And this is just one case, all right? And it goes through, again, a lot of redactions to remove the plaintiff's names in this, because sometimes it could include health information as well. But it goes through the timeline of the Highland Park mass shooting. And the alleged shooter, Robert Crimo III, able to purchase a firearm and doing that legally. Now, here's where we get to it, because we've talked about this in some detail, where you've got the state police. They manage a firearm owner ID card system. That firearm owner ID card is required in order to not just purchase firearms and ammunition, but to possess firearms and ammunition. And you file a application with state police if you're under 18, or if you're under if you're under 18, I believe you have to get a parent's permission. Or if you're under 21, you have to get a parent's permission. I think they recently changed that. Might be wrong. But regardless, there's a process there. And state police looks at, background checks. And you have to have this FOID card to purchase. And then even there, you get more background checks. So the FOID card was set up as a way to try to limit people from getting their hands on firearms if they are a person with ill intent. So I'm going to read to you some of the things that I highlighted from these 6 different lawsuits I got. Here's some quotes. The mass shooting at Highland Park's 4th of July parade was a foreseeable and entirely preventable result of the Illinois State Police's failure to act on clear and present danger report. That clear and present danger report coming from Highland Park law enforcement. The shooter had a turbulent youth, the documents say. Between 2009 and 2014, police officers visited the shooter's home nearly 20 times, 9 of which involved reports of domestic violence. Upon information and belief, he attended Highland Park High School and dropped out before graduating. Shooter attempted to commit suicide with a machete when he was 18, according to the documents. Police were called later that year. Police again visited in response to alleged threats by the shooter against a family member. At that time, police seized 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword after a family member reported to police that he had planned to kill everyone. He was not charged with the crime, but a clear and present danger report was filed at that time. Rewinding all the way back to July of 2022, of course, the parade shooting happening on Independence Day in Highland Park. You have Chris Covelli, a law enforcement official in Highland Park. He held several news conferences, and one of the first news conferences he did share that the firearm was purchased legally.
The rifle was purchased in Illinois, and the information we have thus far is that it appears to have been purchased legally by Crimo.
So he obviously
during the-
had this FOID card that was issued to him by Illinois State Police, despite there being a clear and present danger report. Early on in these news conferences, Covelli was asked what kinds of interactions police had with Crimo beforehand.
Ms. Garner, was he known to law enforcement beforehand, and if not, why not?
I can't get into that right now. There have been some law enforcement contacts, nothing of a violent nature. I can't get into the specifics of the context of that.
So nothing of a violent nature. He later then came out and said, indeed, we had these visits, including suicidal threats and threats of bodily harm against others, and they did issue a clear and present danger report. So despite those clear and present danger reports in December of 2019, at age 18, the shooter applied for a FOID card sponsored by his father through a sworn affidavit. To get a FOID card, the lawsuits say, an applicant must show, among other things, that they are not a person whose mental condition is of such nature that it poses a clear and present danger to the applicant or any person in the community. The clear and present danger report pursuant to the firearm owner's identification card is used to aid state police in identifying persons who, if granted access to a firearm or ammunition, pose an actual imminent threat of substantial bodily harm to themselves or others that is articulable and significant, or who will likely act in a manner dangerous to public safety. These documents in the court case also go into all of the different types of public showings that Crimo had. From playing violent video games, they said, like Call of Duty. He also posted a lot of violent songs under the name Awake the Rapper. Very violent songs, very, crass language and themes. He even had animated videos depicting mass shootings with the shooter in a pool of their own blood. He would go into a school wearing tactical gear and taking pictures of the like. More animated videos of him apparently holding a rifle and saying he's going to break through no matter what. Over different other media that the alleged shooter had, flashed images of saying that I need to just do it. It's my destiny. Everything led to this. Nothing can stop me, not even myself. Painting a silhouette of a man with a smiley face holding a firearm. These are just some of the things they found, including messages to other social media in the lead up to the Independence Day shooting. So the plaintiffs in this case going through in some detail, showing how this guy was a threat, not just from the social media and the songs and the videos he shared, but also behind the scenes with clear and present danger reports. And they say, despite the knowledge that the shooter presented a clear and present danger, the shooter's FOID card application was approved in January of 2020, allowing him to purchase firearms in Illinois legally. He was also seen investigating a rooftop access and as well riding a bike around the morning of. So those are just some of the things that they allege in their lawsuits, seeking $2 million, looks like, per individual. And one lawsuit has 12 counts, 12 individuals attached to it. Another one, I think I counted like 14 individuals attached to it. So you're talking about millions and millions of dollars that taxpayers could be on the hook for from this. Now, again, flashing back, Illinois State Police Director Brendan Kelly held a news conference in July of 2022, just a handful of weeks after the handful of days rather after the shooting, and he talked about the clear and present danger report they received from Highland Park Police and why they didn't act on it and prevent the shooter from getting a firearm owner ID card.
And if you look at the report that was understandably submitted by the Highland Park Police Department in response to the information that they had, and then you look at the law that with regards to clear and present danger, what the statute requires, what is that threshold, that did not meet that threshold. That's the consensus from old analysts and new analysts alike. We vetted it multiple times. Would that have met the threshold? And the consensus is no. After that point, there being no new development, no additional arrest, no additional criminal record, no new mental health prohibitor, nothing that indicated that the individual had been checked into a mental health facility that requires a new report, no basis for a firearms restraining order had been filed or an order of protection, all the things that are under the law that would be able to help us stop from issuing a firearms identification card. None of those factors were present at the time. Now, Illinois has obviously a comprehensive and fairly rigorous firearms training regime in this state. And we are always continuously assessing if there are weaknesses, if there are gaps, what we can do better.
Again, Brendan Kelly, just a handful of days after the Highland Park mass shooting, and it was revealed that Crimo had a FOID card despite there being a clear and present danger report. He went on to further answer questions. Again, Brendan Kelly back in July of 2022 about the clear and present danger reports, and why those weren't used to block this individual from getting access to a FOID card.
So it was determined there was insufficient evidence to establish a clear and present danger. That's both implicit and explicit in the law. And again, in the law, it requires a preponderance of the evidence. And in American law, that basically means 51% or higher. What we have here is an officer that looked at a report and he saw a single individual make a report to another individual about a threat made by the subject of the shooting. The police tried to corroborate that. They could not corroborate it. You had the individual saying that they were neither a threat to themselves or others, and you had the mother also agreeing with that individual. So that's certainly a factor in being able to get to the evidence and sufficient information that you need.
So Kelly later with Illinois State Police said they're refining things to make sure that clear and present danger reports play a more significant role in not just reviewing applications for FOID cards, but renewals as well. So here we are now facing potential taxpayer costs of Illinois police, state police, being charged with negligence by victims of the Independence Day mass shooting. And even in one of the cases here, they go through a lot of redactions, obviously with all of the different names that are being redacted from the report, where they were, how they were injured. And again, these are different individuals, all redacted from this initial lawsuit here in the Court of Claims. But later on, as you get through all of these redactions, you'll see that the attorneys for the plaintiffs, they essentially acknowledge that the Court of Claims might be limited in how they can actually give out any kind of compensation. And they're seeking $2+ million per individual here. And as I counted up all of the different claimants in these documents, it was about, at least 20 or so. And we'll see just where these particular cases go, as Illinois State Police will have to defend themselves in the Court of Claims now 2 years fully after the Independence Day mass shooting in Highland Park. And remember that mass shooting was used as the reason why Illinois banned semi-automatic firearms and handguns over a certain capacity in the magazine. So now that that's in the courts, in the federal courts, you've got family members of victims of the Highland Park shooting suing state police for alleged negligence in not blocking a FOID card from somebody who had a clear and present danger report against them. Pretty incredible stuff. There's no question, and it's something you have to recognize. Those who lost their lives and were catastrophically injured during the Highland Park shooting, and Robert Crimo III still facing those charges after a pretty tumultuous time as well as to whether he was going to do a plea deal or not. Plus his father having been found guilty of negligence because they signed off on Crimo III getting a FOID card. But yeah, each claimant requesting in one particular case $2.5 million with the acknowledgement that losses can't be presently stated with reasonable certainty. What can be stated, the plaintiffs say, is that the current Court of Claims limitation on recoverable damages is believed to be inadequate to cover each claimant's respective damages because the non-economic damages alone already exceed the Court of Claims limitation. Again, Illinois State Police in the Court of Claims, having to answer to allegations of negligence. It is Illinois in Focus Daily, each and every weekday morning here with you. I'm Greg Bishop. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network. We'll track this case and many more as we also look forward to the September 16th Southern District of Illinois Federal Court hearing, a bench trial in the challenges against Illinois' gun and magazine ban. All right. Make it happen. Illinois in Focus Daily with America's Talking Network. Early voting for the November 5th general election begins September 26th, and by all indication, it's the undecided voters that are going to make up the difference one way or the other. What are some of the things that politicos are saying are going to attract undecided voters to their side? Something I've been asking candidates and officials from both parties. Of course, the Democratic National Convention wrapping up last week in Chicago, where the center square was on the ground. We were able to speak with several elected officials about it and to get their thoughts, but also with several candidates from the other side to get their thoughts as well. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network. And of course, go to thecentersquare.com to get the newsletter to stay up to date. And you'll be definitely in the know, no question. But at the Democratic National Convention, where the center square was on the ground, I was able to talk with Illinois House Speaker Chris Welch, and we sat down for a bit, and I asked him what are some of the things that he thinks are going to attract undecided voters to Democrats. Here is the speaker.
Well, I think, especially independents and undecideds, those are folks that are waiting to learn all of the facts. They're doing their homework. They're researching the candidates. And I think we're doing a very good job here at the convention. You're going to see it for the next 2 nights of making our case to the American people of why they should choose Vice President Harris and Governor Walz to be the next president and vice president of the United States, because they know that voters are going to do their homework, and we're trying to make it easy for them.
So again, some indication that voters will know, but I think a lot of voters are still waiting to see some of the major issues, economic issues, border issues. I know that the vice president, Kamala Harris, and her VP pick, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, they have an interview with CNN, a joint interview. So maybe we'll get some indication there as to what exactly the Democrats are going to be pushing for, other than, abortion and reproductive rights and blasting Donald Trump, which is really all we heard at the Democratic National Convention. But I also sat down with Democratic State Representative Marcus Evans and asked him what are some of the things he believes are going to attract those undecided voters.
I think just refining the lies. Politics is going to be full of agendas, lies, and innuendos. But we want people to say, is my life going to be a little bit better under this particular leadership? Is this sustainable leadership? We believe we got the best ticket for a solid leader, okay? Who is the best person to lead? Nobody's perfect. Ain't no perfect person. But I just think Kamala Harris and VP Walz, they're the best people, okay, to lead. I want somebody to lead. And I think the people will say, okay, these are good leaders. They'll make the best decision overall. I won't like it all, but hopefully they'll lean that way. I think the issues that people want to look for is at the kitchen table, man. Am I going to have a decent paying job? Are these businesses going to stay sustained? Transportation. We got to talk about infrastructure, right? Go across the world, they're focused on infrastructure. I visited Panama. They're building new buildings and roads. I mean, what are we building in the United States, right? Where are all the cranes in Chicago? Where are the cranes across this country? We got bridges literally falling down. I'm not making this up. So where's the federal congressional focus on infrastructure? Let's build some things. And I think the world is just beaten. I don't know what's going on. We need to focus on infrastructure.
So that's one thing that Marcus Evans believes should be the focus of the federal government moving forward here under a possible Harris administration, to focus on infrastructure. I connected with several Republicans outside of the DNC last week. Sean Dwyer, he's running as a Republican in the Chicagoland area. And he shared some of the things that he sees voters talking about on the ground as he's going door to door.
Inflation as an issue seems to be declining with the folks I talk to. It's a lot about public safety, and I represent an urban district in Chicago, and it's a lot about how people feel as they leave their homes. And we've got 2,000 badged positions in the Chicago Police Department right now that Mayor Johnson has said he's not going to hire for, right? People don't feel good on the streets. I don't feel great walking around my neighborhood at night. So let's hire the cops. Let's call a crime. Let's educate our kids so that they can be more successful in their careers and spend the dollars that they make. Remember, nationally, we've got 4% unemployment. If we can turn out employable kids, they will get jobs. In Chicago, of course, given our administration, unemployment's about 6.5%, I think. So literally 50% above the national average. But the point being, let's educate our kids, let's give them the choice that enables them to succeed at the highest level they can, and we'll have a safer, more beautiful, more prosperous city.
And again, that's Sean Dwyer, a Republican running for a state house seat here in Illinois. In the Chicagoland area. I also connected with Terry Lee. He's a Republican vying for a seat in Chicago as well. And he gave a litany of things that he thinks voters are really concerned about.
I'm running mostly on issues like crime, education, housing, cost of living, because in Illinois we have the third highest unemployment rate, and it's because of a lot of the taxes that are killing a lot of the businesses, which is leading to a lot of unemployment. I believe Chicago has the highest unemployment out of any city in America. And I also have family members who were business owners, and a lot of their businesses were destroyed after COVID, and the violence and the riots and the crime. So crime is another big issue, and we got to make sure that our cities and our streets are kept safe, and we have to do that through supporting our law enforcement to do the right thing, because 27 out of 30 of the most crime-ridden cities are ran by Democrats. So we have to stop with all the soft on crime policies and actually let the police officers do their jobs in the city, and going after the citizens firearms and means of self-defense is not a way, because a lot of these Democrat cities like Detroit, Baltimore, St. Louis, Chicago, they've tried that and it hasn't worked. So because criminals, they don't follow the laws. So we need to allow our citizens to be able to have the means to defend themselves. And also education in Chicago is abysmal. With Chicago Public School, only 15% of students are doing math at a grade level, and only 20% are reading at a grade level. So we have to expand school choice, and it would help majority of the minority and the low-income families. And when education is bad, and when students and when these kids, they grow up without fathers, it's going to lead to poverty. It's going to lead to crime.
And he went on with even more to say about things that he believes will attract undecided voters to Republicans. I guess we'll wait and see how all of this plays out in the weeks ahead. Of course, September 26th, early voting begins in Illinois for the November 5th general election. Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell for America's Talking Network, and email me anytime, gbishop@ilnews.org. Follow me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, again, programming notes. I'm taking off Thursday, Friday this week, all of next week, and then Monday, Tuesday of the following week. I may be doing some updates here and there. Just follow me with Bishop on Air while I'm on vacation. Search anywhere for X, Facebook, YouTube. But obviously, we'll be back live with Illinois in Focus Daily in September, second week of September, all right? Have a wonderful weekend. It's going to be my weekend. Looking forward to it, and taking some much-needed time off after covering 2 national conventions and the Illinois State Fair and everything else. But just because I'm off doesn't mean that the stories are stopping at the Center Square. We got a whole team there. So go to thecentersquare.com, get that daily newsletter, and stay plugged in. All right, have a great weekend. We'll see you back here soon with Illinois in Focus Daily.
Brett.